All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're heading straight into the engine room, the economic engine, that is, behind a huge project aiming to connect the unconnected. We are going deep inside the world mobile token economy to figure out, what really makes it tick. Let's get right into it.
So, at the very heart of this whole thing is this, well, truly massive goal: building a global mobile network that's actually owned and operated by the people. And the fuel for this vision, it's the World Mobile Token, or WMTx. It's designed to power a whole new era of connectivity.
Okay, before we get into the nitty-gritty of the economics, we gotta understand the foundation it's all built on, and that's the World Mobile Chain. You can think of it as the digital bedrock, or maybe even better, the central nervous system for the whole operation. It processes every single call, every message, every bit of data. And guess what powers every single one of those actions? Yep, WMTx.
All right, section 1. Let's take a look at how this new connectivity engine is actually designed. Because it's not just about, launching a token. The real idea here is to build a whole self-sustaining economy around it.
The team's own token paper uses this key phrase: circular economic incentives. Now, that might sound like a bunch of corporate jargon, but it's not. It's actually the blueprint for the entire system. What it really means is that it's built to be a self-sustaining loop, right? Where value just keeps flowing between everyone who takes part. You contribute to the network, you get rewarded from the network. It's really that simple.
Okay, section 2. So who are the people, the actual players, that make this circular economy go round? To really get how it all works, we have to meet the key players. And there are basically 3 main groups you need to know about. First up, and you could argue most importantly, are the network users. I mean, these are the customers, right? The people actually making calls, watching videos for school, or using financial services through the network. They're the ones creating the demand and paying for services, which injects that initial value right into the ecosystem.
Next, we've got the node operators. Think of these folks as the workhorses of the network. They're the ones running the physical hardware, these things called earth nodes, that process all the transactions coming from the users. They are the validators, the security guards, making sure the entire chain is safe and sound.
And finally, we have the stakers. Now, these are token holders who might not want to run the hardware themselves, but they still want to help secure the whole thing. And they do this by delegating or staking their WMTx to a node operator they trust. It's like they're casting a vote of confidence with their tokens, and in doing so, they boost that node's security contribution to the network. So let's put it all together and see how this circular flow actually works in practice. It all starts with a user, right? They pay a small fee in WMTx to use the network. That transaction then gets picked up and processed by a node operator, the backbone. And that operator, in turn, is supported by stakers who've delegated their tokens to them. And here's the magic part. In the final step, the rewards generated from that fee are shared between both the node operator and all of their stakers. See? Every single person plays a role, and every single person gets to share in the value that's created. That is that self-reinforcing loop in action.
Now for the fun part. Let's talk about those rewards. This is section 3. If that circular flow is the engine, then the reward system, well, that's the high-octane fuel. It's the core incentive that gets everyone excited to participate and play their part.
So, participants earn rewards from 2 completely different streams. On one hand, you have transaction fees. This is super straightforward. The more people use the network, the more fees are collected, and those fees get distributed to operators and stakers. But on the other hand, you have something called inflation rewards. These are brand new tokens created from the total supply that are programmed to be released over time.
And the slice of the pie dedicated to these inflation rewards, it's huge. We're talking 29%. Just let that sink in. Nearly a third of the entire token supply is set aside just for rewarding node operators and stakers over the next 20 years. That tells you that incentivizing people to join isn't just some afterthought. It's a core, fundamental piece of the entire economic puzzle.
But you might be asking, why have this inflation in the first place? Well, this quote from the token paper really nails it. It's all about ensuring a balance between the risk and the rewards. Think about it. In the very early days, the network is new, transaction fees are probably going to be low, so the risk for operators is way higher.
These pre-programmed inflation rewards make sure that they're still fairly compensated for doing the crucial work of securing the network right from day one.
And this chart shows you exactly how that balance plays out over time. The inflation is deliberately front-loaded. It starts really high, over 11% in the first year, to give a massive incentive for early adopters to jump in. But from there, you can see it gradually slopes down over 20 years until it finally hits zero. And the long-term goal here? For the network to become so popular, so widely used, that the transaction fees alone are more than enough to keep the whole thing running smoothly.
Okay, that's the flow and the rewards. Let's move to section 4. We're going to zoom out a bit now and look at the token itself. Where did all these tokens come from in the first place, and where are they all going?
First things first, the hard cap. The absolute maximum supply of World Mobile Token is fixed at 2 billion, period. That number will never, ever increase, and that creates a predictable, stable economic foundation for the whole network. So where does that 2 billion supply actually go? Well, as we just talked about, the biggest slice of the pie, that huge 29% chunk, is reserved for node and stake rewards. That's the fuel for the circular economy. But you can also see other big pieces, like 18% for an operations fund to pay for ongoing development, and allocations for the founders, the team, and the early investors who helped get this whole project off the ground.
But, and this is a really important but, those tokens aren't just dumped on everyone on day one. No way. They're subject to what are called vesting schedules, which you can see in this table. For example, the co-founders' tokens, they're locked up tight for 18 months, and then they're released slowly over the next 2 years. This is an absolutely crucial detail. It's designed to make sure everyone is focused on the long-term health of the project, and it prevents a sudden flood of tokens from hitting the market all at once.
All right, last section, section 5. In any explainer like this, it is absolutely critical that we cover the official disclaimers and the risks that are laid out right in the source material. This is all about giving you a complete and responsible picture.
Okay, so the project's own documents highlight several key things that anyone digging into this ecosystem really needs to know. First, this is all just for informational purposes. It is not financial advice. Second, acquiring WMTx comes with significant risks, like market volatility. It's also really important to know that World Mobile is not registered or licensed by the BVI Financial Services Commission. And critically, those reward calculation formulas we talked about, they can actually change over time. Now, those aren't my words, those are direct callouts from the official documentation.
And that really brings us to the final massive question. The architecture is clearly complex, the goal is incredibly audacious, and the entire system is built on this fascinating, circular, token-powered economy. So it leaves us all to wonder, can a model like this truly succeed in reshaping something as fundamental as global connectivity? That, right there, is the big question this whole project is trying to answer.